Hey guys, Buildzoid here, and it's been a while since I've done a PC part picker memory shopping list type video, so yeah, we're doing one of those again. The memory kits are all the memory kits we're going through are listed on my blog over here, so there will be a link to this list down in the description. If you want an annotated version of this list, you can get that by joining the AHOC Patreon. The annotations basically just tell, like, basically the annotations cover everything I'm going to be saying throughout this video. So, yeah, if instead of watching a video you would just prefer to have the information in text form, it's available on the Patreon by becoming a patron, of course. So, anyway, yeah, let's get into this list, because there is a lot of memory kits to get through. Well, so we go up to 2x32. For daily setups, I would say you want to stick to 2x, like, you either want to run, like, well, I'd say the sweet spot for DDR4 RAM right now for, like, a higher end system is 32 gigs. Because you get the benefits of dual rank, and also you're unlikely to run into anything that'll not fit in your RAM. Whereas 16 gigs of RAM, there are certainly things you can, like, there's games you can play that won't fit in that. There's things you can do that won't fit into 16 gigs of RAM anymore. So 16 gigs of RAM, like, under most circumstances, it's still fine, but if you know, like, if you don't like constantly closing things and that kind of thing, then 32 gigs is like, gives you, well, literally twice as much capacity. So that's kind of that. 2x32, so 64 gig configurations only make sense if you actually need more than 32 gigs of RAM, because you trade performance to get that extra capacity. Basically, you can get the highest memory, like, highest performance memory chips you can currently get are only available on 8 gig and 16 gig memory chips. I mean, memory sticks, and, well, you don't want to be running 4 ranks of it. Like, you don't want to be running a 64 gig configuration of that memory, because it's really hard on the memory controller. So you'd actually lose performance again. Basically, 64 gigs of RAM is always going to be slower than 32 gigs of RAM, unless you're doing something that doesn't fit into 32 gigs of RAM. Because if it doesn't fit, then you end up in the page file, and the page file is horribly, horribly slow. So, anyway, that's sort of the introduction to this. And other than that, DDR4 prices have been starting to creep upwards as DDR5 is becoming more and more of a thing. And they're probably they're not gonna be coming down for the foreseeable future. Let's put it that way. So, yeah, basically what I'm trying to say with that is, like, if you are considering buying a DDR4 memory kit right now, you probably should, because if you delay it, there's a decent chance by the end of the year it'll be more expensive than it is now. So anyway, let's get into the list. So we're going to start off, you know, from the smallest capacity and go up into the higher ones. 2x8 kits, the thing to consider here is, like, if you know what you're doing, you can certainly buy 2x8 kits and put them together to get, you know, dual rank operation at often a lower price than if you were just buying a 2x16 or a 4x8 kit from directly from a manufacturer. There is, however, a downside. If you have any compatibility problems with 2x8, or, like, any kind of stability problems, like if the XMP doesn't work when you buy 2 separate 2x8 kits, that's your problem. That's not the manufacturer's problem. It's also not my problem, okay? You have been warned. It is not, like, most manufacturers do not officially support putting 2 2x8 kits together. That doesn't mean it's not something I wouldn't do. I regularly do this. And it's a great way of getting, you know, a very cost-effective memory setup if your goal is to get 32 gigs of RAM total. If you just kind of want fire and, like, if you want, you know, if you don't want to see any memory settings, memory timings, memory voltages, if you aren't interested in any of that, you should probably get a 2x16 or a 4x8 kit. You should just avoid putting 2 2x8 kits together. It's not supported. If you have any issues, it's going to be, like, yeah, it's going to be a pain for you to deal with that. So Now let's actually get into the list. Starting off with the ridiculous category of memory sticks, we've got the G.Skill's Trident Z Royal 4800 Cl18. So this is rated at 1.5 volts. This spec literally will not function properly on the vast majority of motherboards with the vast majority of CPUs. Like, this is one of those kits where even the XMP profile is so fast that it is a compatibility problem. Also, it's really expensive. So this is basically one of those kits where it's like, you're an overclocker, you love RAM overclocking way too much, and then this is kind of the kit for you, because this is basically one of the strongest Samsung B-die bins that G.Skill makes. 4800 Cl18 is about as low as your, cast latency, or about as high as your cast latency to frequency ratio is going to get, right? So the first word latency is very, very low. And also, it's a 1.5 volt kit, which with this kind of frequency also means that the G.Skill has to be binning these chips for like voltage tolerance, as well as somewhat temperature tolerance, because at higher frequencies, the memory sticks do pull a bit more power. And so basically, this should be an insanely strong kit of Samsung B-die. However, it's also almost $400 for a set, and like basically a memory kit that I would only consider buying if I had money to burn. But yeah, also, like, if you don't know what you're doing, this kit is not for you, like, at all. Do not just buy this kit thinking that you're gonna stick it in a motherboard, enable XMP, and it's gonna work. It probably won't. So, yeah, this is kind of one of those, well, ridiculous memory kits for people who are way too into RAM overclocking. Anyway, next we get some actually really reasonable, well, extremely strong bins, but like reasonably set up. So this is G.Skill's Trident Z 4000 Cl14, much cheaper, actually lower first word latency, but at higher memory voltage. This is at 1.55 volts. So this is probably going to be very similar chip quality to that 4800 Cl18 kit. But unlike the 4800 Cl18 kit, if you put this on an Intel system, the XMP will work just fine. On Ryzen, the XMP will actually lose you performance unless you are lucky enough to have a system like a CPU that can run 2000 FCLK. But it is a great kit for like manual tuning, because the fact that G.Skill is shipping it at 1.55 volts tells us right out of the gate, we know this voltage, this kit has good voltage tolerance. So, if you wanted to like retune it for 3800 Cl14, you'll probably not see something like 3800 Cl13, because as you get closer and closer to the Cl12, the increase in voltage necessary to reduce the frequency by 1 tick gets bigger and bigger. So going from Cl14 to Cl13 doesn't really sound like a big step, but it's actually really hard to do. So that's not what this kit, that's not where this kit would give you an advantage, but you might be able to do something like 3800 Cl14, 13, 12. So incredibly, 13, 12, maybe even a 13, 11 with like a TRP of 25 or something, so TRC of 36, like really low timings just across the board with a kit like this should be possible. And yeah, and it comes in at a much lower price, and then on Intel out of the box it should actually work. So on Intel you get a good starting point. On AMD you don't really get a good starting point, though you could just drop it down to like 3800 at the XMP timings and then work from there, or 3600 and work from there. So yeah, this I think is, as like, if you're going to be doing a lot of memory overclocking and you're willing to spend a lot on your memory kit, this is one of the most interesting memory kits that G.Skill currently makes, specifically for overclocking, because 4000 Cl14 is really hard on B-die to do fully stable, and they are shipping this as an XMP spec, admittedly at 1.55 volts, but that just means the memory chips actually have good voltage tolerance, because there's some B-die where it's like, as long as you're not trying to fully stabilize it, it behaves fine at high voltage, but then you try to run memtest on it and it's just impossible to stabilize. Well, this is literally designed to run at that 1.55 volts, so that takes the guesswork out of that part of the overclocking equation. So that kit gets into the list. We also have a Cl15 kit. which is now 1.5, which is 1.5 volts. Same deal as the Cl17 kit, just an incredibly strong bin, lower voltage, but it should be really similar. Like this should be really, really similar, and this is way cheaper. Well, when I say really similar, it should be very similar, but like this kit should still be better. I'm just not sure by how much. And of course, there's even within like these really hard bins like 4000 CL14, and 4000 CL15, there's still going to be some kit-to-kit variance. So you could end up with like a 4000 CL14 kit that's not that much better than a 4000 CL15 kit, but you could also end up with a very large gap between the two of them. So like the silicon lottery still applies to memory kits, even when they're coming with absolutely ridiculous timings from the factory. But anyway, this one is much more affordable, and that just makes it way more interesting in my opinion, because yeah, for the price of two of these kits, well, you could basically get two of these, you know, a pair of these for the price of one of those 4800 CL18 kits from G.Skill. So this is a really, really cool sort of like high-end daily overclocking bin. So yeah, that's a cool kit. And then we get to some 4000 CL16 RGB, because people like RGB, so I went ahead and included an RGB kit in this list. Now this is 16, 19, 19, 39, 1.4 volts. Should still be a reasonably strong bin of Samsung B-die. Like the fact, like the higher voltage kits just automatically just gives you good, like should generally have good voltage tolerance, especially if they're running like higher frequencies and lower timings. And yeah, so this is actually cheaper than the 4000 CL15 kit. Basically all of these like if you're looking at these kits considering putting them in a Ryzen system, all of these kits that we've just gone through, they should all do like 3800 CL14 without any issues. On Intel, it's hard to say where they'll max out, because on Intel, it's not just about your memory kit, it's also about your memory, it's more so about your memory controller. Because with Samsung B-die, like even 3200 CL14 kits are perfectly capable of going up to like 4800 megabits per second. It's just that your memory controller probably isn't, right? So that's kind of the issue there. But yeah, so this is like a really strong RGB option. However, if you don't care for RGB, you can get that same speed bin for quite a lot cheaper. And yeah, so now you have 4000 CL16 for $140 instead of $165. Yeah, like the prices that G.Skill is putting these like really strong B-die kits at are just ridiculous in my opinion. Like we have a 4000 CL17 at $140 as well. Now this is also 1.4 volts, 17, 18, 18. So you basically have an option of like weak TRCD, or like this kind of looks like these sticks might generally have weaker TRCD, and these look like sticks that might generally have weaker TCL. TRCD is arguably the more important of the two timings. Though it could also be a case of they're just trading cast latency for TRCD in the bidding. So I'm not sure, like, you'd need to test a very large quantity of both of these speed bins to determine like what on average the difference between them is. But they're basically the same price, sort of similar timing, similar timing configuration. And both are really solid options. So whichever you want, like basically if I was choosing between these two, if they're at the same price, flip a coin. If one of them is cheaper, get the cheaper one. That's the way I look at these, at the 4000 CL16s and the 4000 CL17s here. I would not consider these on par with the 4000 CL15 and the 4000 CL14. These are like a step above. Because once you get into the 1.5 volts and 1.55 volt XMPs, like that actually requires that, like, especially the 1.5 volts is like, oh yeah, these memory chips have to be very like tolerant of the extra voltage, because that can be quite an issue with some B-die memory sticks, where it's just like, yeah, like as long as you're just running benchmarks, it looks fine, and then you try to stabilize them, and it's like, oh wait, no, it isn't. So anyway, so we've got those kits. And now we get into the Viper Steels, because Patriot is just like, you want cheap, fast B-die? Well, Patriot is sort of the go-to for that. Under $120 at Amazon right now for DDR4 4400 Cl19. I have two sets of this memory right here. It's great. It does 3800 Cl14 super easy. You know, it comes in at 1.45 volts. The only thing that I've noticed with this kit that is kind of annoying is that it seems to have a problem doing 1T command rate on Intel, like, 10th gen CPUs. On 11th gen CPUs, 1T command rate, like, if you're in Gear 2 on an 11th gen CPU, you don't actually have 1T command rate. It's not available because of how the memory controller is running in Gear 2. So on 11th gen, that's not really a problem. On 10th gen, yeah, you're going to be stuck at 2T command rate with these probably. At least based on my experience, you're probably going to be stuck at 2T command rate. On Ryzen, they don't really seem to exhibit any such any issue like that. I suspect it might be just down to the fact that on Ryzen you don't run them at as high frequencies. What is worth considering with this kit is that 4400 Cl19 is a high enough stock speed that the XMP might cause problems with some motherboards and CPUs. So again, this is sort of like an advanced kit where you really need to know, like, because you can't just start at the 4400 speed. Though they do have two XMP profiles. The second one is 4266 Cl19. So you can go with the 4266 Cl19 profile as a sort of safer starting point. But yeah, the out-of-the-box 4400 Cl19, there's a decent chance that might not be stable depending on your motherboard and your CPU and a variety of different variables, actually. So yeah, but as far as like getting strong B-die in like for a low price, these are often one of the cheapest options. So yeah, which is why I have a pair of them. They're like 4400 Cl19 with TRCD19 for less than like some 3200 Cl14 kits go for, and it's like, I mean, what more could you ask for? So yeah, so the Patriot Viper Steels 4400s are, of course, in the list. And then Patriot just has a bunch of these ridiculously priced Viper Steel kits where it's like they have a 4133 Cl19 bin, which, again, Samsung B-die, this is 1.35 volts. With this on Intel, you don't have to worry about like any kind of weirdness at the XMP 4133 is low enough that it really should work just about everywhere. And yeah, so these are these are not going to be as strong as the 4400 kits, but still a very strong, like, Samsung B-die option. Then we've got, you know, 4000 Cl19, and at this point, we, like, this is the bin where it's like, okay, this better be the cheapest thing, like, the cheapest kit of B-die that you found, is when I would be buying these, because 4000 Cl19 is starting to get kind of loose, and it is also still at 1.35 volts. Though it is it is flat 19s instead of like 1921 like we saw on the 4133 kit, but yeah, these should be very, very, like, again, these are just a really solid option. The thing is that a lot of the time, all of these Viper kits are actually almost the same price. So, like, I would usually go towards the 4400 kit, but if you really can't afford the 4400 kit, or maybe if you're buying two sets, right, like, then, you know, you can, like, if you're buying a pair of these kits to put them together for a dual rank setup, then, you know, the somewhat lower price, you know, becomes more significant when you're buying more sticks. So, yeah. So we've got that kit in the list, and then we've got this right here, which should almost certainly still be Samsung B-die. The only issue is, like, because 192121 is, like, that is technically a B-die bin, but there's a small chance that they could bin Hynix DJR into that. Which would kind of suck. So this is kind of like the thing. Normally DJR is binned for like 1822, or like 2022, or 1922. Like, the main thing, DJR is normally binned for a TRCD of 22 instead of a TRCD of 21. But like, this is really quite loose by B-die memory kit standards, and so it's kind of like, yeah, this one I'm not sure about. Though the annoying thing is out of the various Viper kits from Patriot, these actually have the nicest heat spreaders as far as I'm concerned. The heat spreaders on the Viper steels are terrible. They're literally just a little piece, like a flat piece of aluminum. Whereas these are much more substantial. Unfortunately, they don't offer these in as aggressive speed bins as they offer the Viper steels, which is just like, why do manufacturers do this? I have no idea. But yeah, so this is an interesting option is the way I'd put it. And yeah, but ultimately I think in terms of like the highest quality chips that you're going to get from Patriot are probably going to be on the 4400 Cl19 kits, though again, keep in mind silicon lottery, so even a 4000 Cl19 kit like this one here could end up being really, really strong, potentially stronger than some of the 4400 Cl19 kits, but the probability of that is lower than just going for a 4400 Cl19 kit from the get-go. Anyway, next we have 3200 Cl14 kits. These are, of course, from G.Skill, because G.Skill, like, it's basically, if you want cheap Samsung B-die, you've got two options, Patriot Vipers and G.Skill. So we've got a G.Skill Flare X option here for 3200 Cl14. Now, 3200 Cl14 memory kits are, like, at XMP, they're slow. Like, they're really not that different in terms of stock performance from a 3200 Cl16 kit. So these only make sense if you're planning to overclock them, because they have the same amount of they have basically the same amount of headroom as any other Samsung B-die kit. Now, 3200 Cl14 sort of takes the silicon lottery part of the equation to the extreme, as this is sort of the baseline bin for like a good Samsung B-die kit. Like, you can technically get Samsung B-die in even lower speed specs, like lower specs than this, but those generally are horrible. So you don't want to do that. So the good stuff starts at like 3200 Cl14, but the thing is you might find that the variance is kind of all over the place. So some kits will do like 3800 Cl14, some kits will do 3800 Cl16 at the exact same voltage. And yeah, that's just kind of what it is with the 3200 Cl14 options, but they are really cheap, though. Like, if you can't find the Vipers, these are probably going to be the next cheapest option that you can get. Though, currently, the price difference between these 3200 Cl14 kits and some of G.Skill's, 4000 Cl16 kits isn't really that big. So if you were only buying, like, if you're buying just one set, then I'd say I would almost always go for the 4000 Cl16s or the Cl17s. If you're buying two sets, then I guess, well, that's still only like $20. Like, you'd still only be saving like $20. So I think I would still go for two sets of like 4000 Cl17 or Cl16 instead of the 3200 Cl14s. But if you can find, like, if these drop, like, because occasionally you can find these for like $100, $110. If you see them for that kind of price, then yeah, these are great. Assuming you're going to overclock them. At stock, not worth it. Definitely not worth it at stock. So anyway, so that covers the overclocking focused 2x8 memory kits. Now let's talk about the XMP memory kits. So these are memory kits where the idea is you buy it, you stick it in your system, you enable the XMP. You should still run a memory stress test. It should almost certainly, like, just in case, because XMP is technically overclocking. Okay? It is technically overclocking, and you should still check that your memory is stable after enabling an XMP profile, because the last thing you want is like file corruption on your main system drive, right? So anyway, yeah, so this is DDR4 3600 Cl16. This is going to be Micron Rev E memory. And you can get it for, well, for 90, I think it's a bit much, but again, DDR4 prices have been sort of creeping upwards, so there's not really much you can do about that, I don't think. But if you can find them for $80, it's a great deal. And the 3600 Cl16 speed means that, if you stick these into a Ryzen system, you enable the XMP, it'll run your 1800 FCLK, Cl16. Like, at this price, you're not going to find kits with better timings than this. So the out-of-the-box performance on this is going to be great. Also, the compatibility with Ryzen systems is really, really good. On Intel, same thing. You can just, stick these sticks in, enable the XMP, just do a basic check that the memory is actually stable, and then never worry about it again. And yeah, like all of the XMP kits in the list are actually 3600, because 3200 Cl16 kits are not that much cheaper. And also, if you're buying 3200 Cl16 kits, you can just kind of buy whatever. Like, just buy the cheapest one, because the 3200 CL16 from the like, if you're not overclocking and you're buying 3200 CL16 kits, just buy whatever. Like, there's no different, like, that is the speed bin where, well, it's not that RAM is RAM, it's just kind of like, they're all a lottery bin, so that's kind of, they're a lost cause in my opinion. Like, trying to make sense of why you would get one 3200 CL16 kit over another, in my opinion, is just like a total waste of time. So that's why all of the kits in the list are actually 3600. So here we have a 3600 CL17 Patriot Viper 4 Blackout kit. This is a little bit under $90. And with Ryzen, if you stick this in and enable the XMP, that CL17 will turn into CL18. That's not really a big deal in terms of what it's going to do to your performance. And this is probably going to be Hynix CJR, so that's kind of, like, potentially if you did want to overclock it, this would actually be kind of easy, like, nice to work with. But again, the main idea here is just stick it in the system, enable XMP, and call it a day. Again, you will want to run a memory stress test. So, anyway... Next, we have a 3733 CL17 kit from Patriot, and this is more towards Intel than it is towards AMD, because on AMD, this, like, you'll have to set your FCLK manually to 1866 on most motherboards if you get this kit. Yeah, like, this is obviously more expensive. It's not really going to be significantly different in terms of performance compared to the 3600 CL17 kit. Actually, yeah, and actually it might end up being, oh no, it'll definitely end up being slower than a Crucial Ballistics, because the thing is, this right here is 16, 18, 18, whereas this is 17, 21, 21. Yeah, so the really loose TRCD there, like, it's gonna completely squash the, like, the benefit of the higher clock speed is just gonna get completely swallowed up by the really loose timings compared to the Crucial kit. But they're, you know, similarly priced, and so Crucial kit first. If you can't find this, then I would consider one of the 3600 or 3733 CL17 Patriot kits. So, yeah, that's what we got. Actually, the 3600 CL17 kit is also, like, really... Well, actually, that's not as loose, right? That's 17, 19, 19, so that's not going to have as much of a performance gap compared to the 3600 CL16 Crucial kit. So, anyway, that's the 2x8 kits. Now we get into the 2x16 kits. And 2x16 is a interesting situation. So you obviously have crazy, you know, strong and expensive Samsung B-die, dual rank Samsung B-die kits like this right here. G-Skill is insane. This is 4000 CL14 dual rank at 1.55 volts. So, like, these sticks will run hot, because that is a lot of voltage to be shoving, because dual rank sticks have memory chips on both sides. So the heat output of each of these sticks is not quite twice as high as what you'd normally see from a single rank memory stick, but these produce more heat, and there's, yeah, like, these produce more heat, and they're also just running insanely aggressive memory settings. They're also really expensive. These are $560, but this is almost certainly the strongest dual rank Samsung B-die that you can buy in a 2x16 kit. Like, this is it. There's not, like, if you want to avoid the silicon lottery as much as possible, here's the answer, and it's expensive. Yeah. You know, again, I don't think you would be able to do 3800 CL13 on this. If somebody was thinking 3600 CL13 might be possible, but 3800 no. Because again, like, the gap between CL13 and CL14 is actually way bigger than you might initially think it is. And also on Ryzen, CL13 doesn't make any sense as a configuration. Just, like, don't do that. It's bad. Yeah, so this kit is sort of the ridiculously priced option of the 2x16s. Then we've got some what I consider novelty overclocking kits, because these are single rank. This isn't a dual rank kit, so in terms of performance per clock, this is never going to keep up with, say, that G-Skill kit or, well, the vast majority of the other 2x16 kits that I have in the list. But if for some reason you wanted to run say like 32 gigs of RAM at like 5,000 megabits per second or more, you can with this. It'll do that. This is an insanely strong bin of like Micron 16 gigabit revision B, and that memory chip clocks insanely high. It's easy to clock really high. It's easy to stabilize. Hard, like it depends on your memory controller. It's easier to run with, well, AMD's memory controller is better suited towards doing high frequencies than Intel. Though it's also worth noting that on AMD, running, 2-to-1 memory mode gives you a pretty nasty performance penalty. So this really is what I would consider like a novelty memory kit. Like, it can do some really impressive stuff. There's just not a CPU that is really suited towards it. But I still wanted to include it in the list because it's just a really neat kit of RAM. Like, yeah, it's my freaking list. So realistically, don't buy this unless you're like collecting memory kits for your fancy DDR4 collection, in which case definitely get one of these because these are freaking awesome. So anyway, next we have the same thing but less ridiculously priced as Crucial Ballistics Max 32 gigs 4000 Cl18. My kit of this does like 5,000 plus, full like memtest stable, assuming that the CPU can keep up with it. So that's like, as I said, novelty RAM. If you want to run 32 gigs of memory at a stupid high speed, this is it. That's why it's in the overclocking section of the list. This isn't exactly, and admittedly, like at stock it'll work okay, but it is single rank. And yeah, like performance-wise at stock settings, it's just not really going to win any competitions. Like it's just going to lose to any dual rank kit at roughly the same speed. Actually, it's going to lose to any dual rank kit doing like 3800. So yeah, this really isn't like novelty overclocking memory. And I'm a huge fan of the fact that these kits exist, but at the same time I also acknowledge that like at this price, the performance that you're going to get out of these, it's not really there, unfortunately. Which I like, yeah. I wish I could. I wish I could be nicer to them, but realistically, it's just like that's novelty RAM. That's the kind of thing that like I would buy because it's cool, not because it's like, oh yeah, I'm gonna actually run that. Though I wouldn't actually like. That is probably one of the best, like that 4000 Cl18 kit is probably one of the best options to like stick into my daily system if I wanted to run something other than like 3600 Cl18 like I do now. But anyway, now we have something that's just universally a very strong memory kit, which is G.Skill's Trident Z Neo 32 gig here, 2x16, 3800 Cl14. This is dual rank Samsung B-die. Very strong bin, 1.5 volts. Yes, the TRCD is kind of loose, but that's to... Like, the thing is, this kit is binned for compatibility with Ryzen, and Ryzen's memory controller doesn't like low TRCD very much. In fact, most memory controllers don't like low TRCD, as that is a very stressful timing for them to deal with. But the thing is, this is a really strong kit. Like, basically, if you bought this, you would probably want to lower the TRP. Like, you should be able to run, like, I'm surprised that it's not binned 14, 15, 15. But I guess there might be some CPUs that won't do 15, so they binned it as 16. So you might do, like, 14, 15, 15, or... Well, actually, no. Like, with this, I'd be aiming to run, like, 14, 15, 13, or 14, 15, 12, 14, 14, 12... like whatever your memory controller allows you to do, like that should be possible. 1.5 volts, so good voltage tolerance on this kit. Like, also on Intel, this will actually work really well. This would be a solid option for Intel systems as well. So, yeah, I mean, Intel systems kind of will take anything, whereas with Ryzen systems, you do need to sort of be mindful of the Infinity Fabric situation. So obviously with this, you have to manually clock your Infinity Fabric up to 1900, and not all CPUs are capable of doing that fully stable. So that is something to keep in mind. But yeah, a very strong kit at, I'd argue, a reasonable price for what it is, right? Like, it's expensive, but also it's 3800 Cl14. Like, that's one of, like, the top bins of Samsung B-die. Like, the next step up from G.Skill is 4000 Cl14. And we've seen the price on that. Right, so Yeah, so that's a really cool kit. Then we have a 3600 CL14 G-Skill kit for $300. So actually, I'd say this is a very reasonable price. 3600 CL14 at 1.45 volts with like 14, 15, 15. This is a very strong B-die bin. Should have no problem doing like 3800 CL14 if you just bump up the voltage a bit. TRCD will sort of depend on your luck with the silicon lottery as well as your CPU. I'd argue more so your CPU than the actual kit. Yeah, also with this being 3600 CL14, you get a really strong starting point for your memory overclocking, right? Like the XMP should work no problem. So you can start with the XMP profile and then work from there very, very easily on Ryzen systems. Same goes for Intel, actually. Like, again, Intel systems kind of just take everything. Well, except Micron Rev E. Micron Rev E does not play, like, Intel's memory controller does not get along with Micron Rev E memory. It's very fiddly to set up. Like, you can make it work, but it's very fiddly to set up. But, yeah, in terms of speeds, the Intel memory controller really doesn't care what you stick in it, as long as it's not clocked above, like, 44, as long as it's not doing over 4400 megabits per second. So... yeah, anyway, 3600 CL14, you know, like, of the 2x16 kits in this list, I think that's probably kind of the sweet spot. Certainly for Ryzen systems, I think that's the most interesting kit. Then there's also the 4000 CL16 option, which this is at 1.4 volts. This is probably about the same level of quality as this. G-Skill certainly prices it like it is. Then Amazon doesn't. But, actually, let's check if these are currently on sale, but I kind of doubt it. Be kind of weird. Well, that's 324. This is just, okay, so this, This would still be easier to work with on Ryzen just because of the fact that you have a really nice solid starting point, whereas with this, you've kind of got timings that are more suited towards Intel memory controllers than AMD. Well, more like, the stock settings are more suited towards Intel memory controllers than AMD. But yeah, also are just a generally really strong B-die kit. Also, this comes with RGB. Actually, most of the price difference is probably from the RGB now that I think of it. Yeah, that's probably it. So the chip quality on these is very likely to be basically the same. These might even have a slight edge, in my opinion, just because of the combination of the low TRCD and the slightly higher voltage. Because, yeah, like, the voltage tolerance is a real thing to sort of worry about with Samsung B-die. And anyway, so, yeah, so those are really strong options there. Then we have a 4000 Cl17 kit from G-Skill, which $250. So, you know, timing's obviously suited towards Intel memory controllers more so than AMD, but 1.4 volts, 17, 18, 18, like, if you know what you're doing, stick it in a Ryzen system, and this should easily do 3800 CL14, right? Like, especially since this is starting out at 1.4 volts, so you can just bump it up to 1.5. I'd be very surprised if it didn't run 3800 CL14 with that. So yeah, this is obviously a very interesting option. And then on Intel platforms, you can kind of do whatever, right? Like, the Intel memory controllers don't really have a sweet spot. They just have a varying range of, like, how much do you, like, how hard do you want it to be how hard do you want it to get stability? The higher the frequency, the more difficult it is. Also, like, what is your motherboard capable of? So, anyway, yeah, a very, very just solid, you know, Samsung B-die dual rank kit from G-Skill here. And then we get to the 3200 CL14 kits, which this is the cheapest way to get dual rank Samsung B-die, but again, at stock settings, this really isn't very impressive. Well, I guess here they do have the advantage of at least being guaranteed to be dual rank. So actually a 3200 CL16 kit in 2x16, like a 2x16 3200 CL16 kit, there's a decent chance it's going to be single rank these days. And so, actually, this might have a pretty significant performance advantage, even at bone stock settings, compared to a single rank. Like, actually, it's not going to be pretty significant. It's going to be a major performance advantage over a single rank 3200 CL16 kit. So, I guess these are a bit, like, these are somewhat more justifiable than the, like, 2x8 3200 CL14 kits that I have in the list. Because these, with the stock performance, is actually very, very good, though. This kit specifically is RGB and expensive as hell because of that, but... we have more reasonable options as long as you don't need rainbows on your memory sticks. There. And this. Oh, wait, no, that's the rainbow option. Where's the, like, there was a cheaper... Oh, this, yeah, so you have 229, 239, and rainbow. So, yeah. So that's sort of the overclocking focused 2x16 kits, and now we get into the XMP kits, and these are a mess, in my opinion. These are a real mess. So this right here, it comes in both single rank Micron Rev B, 16 gigabit Micron Rev B. It also comes in dual rank Micron Rev E. And the problem with that is that depending on how lucky you are, you might get a kit that's actually significantly faster, just at stock settings. Though the single rank kits will be much better when it comes to pushing high frequencies. And by pushing high frequencies, I'm talking over well over 4,000 megabits per second. So, yeah, and I should really say pushing high speeds, not high frequencies. But anyway, you get the idea. Yeah, so this is kind of like, at least at the very least, it will max out your Infinity Fabric, right? It'll get your Infinity Fabric up to 1800 on Ryzen. And then, unfortunately, yeah, you might get single rank, you might get dual rank. If you get dual rank, that's great. If you get single rank, well, that's somewhat less great. That's actually kind of unfortunate, but yeah, this is RAM. And that's the main reason that I don't actually have any 3200 Cl16 kits anywhere in the 2x16 list, because... like this already, I'm not thrilled about like recommending this but it is a lot cheaper than the guaranteed dual rank B-die kits, right? Like the 3200 CL14 kits, those have to be B-die, so they have to be dual rank, and so they're also really expensive because of that. Whereas this, you know, you save quite a bit of money, but as a trade-off for that, you kind of like, how well is it going to perform? Depends. And then we have this kit from G.Skill over here, which I strongly suspect of being dual rank DJR, but there's no reason that it couldn't be Micron Rev B single rank, as that is 18, 22, 22, 42, and so there's a lot of memory chips that'll do that. Also, this is at 1.4 volts, so yeah, this is probably DJR. But anyway, this is $180, so basically the same price as the Crucial kit that we looked at before. But this is obviously more, like, this is for Intel, as far as I'm concerned, because it's 4000 CL18. This is for your, you know, Intel systems. You could downclock it to run on AMD properly, but, yeah, on, like, for that, I think you should just buy a stock 3600 CL16 kit, probably. So, yeah, anyway... so that's the 2x16 section. So as you can tell, I'm not thrilled about the XMP portion of the 2x16 section, and which is why we have the 4x8 section, which I think is completely stupid under most circumstances. But if you're not going to be doing any overclocking, if you just want to enable an XMP profile and you want dual rank operation on your memory sticks, well, then you kind of have to go with 4x8. Now, unfortunately, 4x8 is generally ridiculously expensive, because obviously there's just more material involved with building a 4x8 kit than there is with building a 2x16 kit. And also, the manufacturers do the actual validation for you, so if you install this in a system, it has, like, it's supposed to work together, because it's sold as a 4x8 kit, which is not, you know, not guaranteed if you buy two separate 2x8 kits. But anyway, so the first option is we have this Corsair Lpx 32GB 3600 CL18 memory. This is around 190 to 200. This is around $200, which I'd say is a bit much. But at stock settings, especially on Ryzen, it should have an advantage over your 3200 CL14 B-die kits, right? And it's cheaper than those. And the wacky thing about this specific speed bin from Corsair... Oh, wait, no, this is the 182222 bin. Okay, well, okay, no, this is the wrong bin. Like, there's an 181919 bin. Okay, yeah, so this is the wacky Corsair bin, which you can occasionally get B-die in this. You can also get, like, some Nanya memory chips in this, but this is $210. So, I should have included this kit in the list. Like, this is not that much more expensive to just axe it, but yeah, it is. Yeah, like, unfortunately, if you're not planning to get if you don't want to manually overclock, 32 gig memory kits don't really come in convenient dual rank configurations, which is really kind of annoying. Yeah, then we have like a 3600 CL19 option from G.Skill. Yeah, so I should have really included this 3600 CL18 kit from Corsair. As this is the same price. Yeah, this is 19-20-20. So, you know, the timings are, like, if you stick this into a Ryzen build, it's going to turn into 20-20-20. Which, like, the thing is, it's still dual rank. So it's still going to outperform, like, a 2x8 kit running the same timings or even lower timings. Like, dual rank, like, going from single rank to dual rank is kind of like increasing your memory speed by 400 megabits per second. It's like the difference between DDR4 3600 and DDR4 4000. So it is a pretty significant, like, having more ranks is a pretty significant performance advantage. So even though the timings on this are, well, atrocious, it'll still have, like, the performance will still be good. Which is kind of the point of putting this kit in the list because, yeah, like, you know, these are XMP kits. We're not going to be manually tuning them. So is this different? Yeah, so here we have a cheaper option, significantly cheaper option, with the same timings. So get this. Obviously, you lose out on the RGB, but it's cheaper. And I consider that far more important in this case than the actual looks. And then we finally have these G-Skill sniper sticks, which are also... you know, at a much lower price, but again, with the terrible 19, 20, 20, 40 timings. I have no idea what memory chips these are going to be, but it is going to be dual rank, and that alone is just, like, that's the main reason they're in the list. It's just, like, these have to be dual rank, and that just should, like, that'll more than compensate for the terrible timings that these come with. And also, at this price point, you really can't ask for much more than that. So anyway... yeah, so that's the 4x8 options, which, again, like, if you're manually overclocking, just put two 2x8 kits together, because you're overclocking, and so you're not going to get any manufacturer support, manufacturer support anyway, even if you only ran one kit. So, you know, that's kind of that. Though, you might, well... I guess if you're manually overclocking and you do want at least the bare minimum of manufacturer support, you could have, like, 3200 CL14 or the 4000 CL17, like one of the 2x16 kits. And now we get onto the 2x32 kits, where we have Crucial's dual rank Micron 16 gigabit Rev B memory. This is $380-ish, and these kits have so much overclocking headroom. It's just, like, it's annoying that they're 64 gigs. It takes so long to run a memory stability test on a 64 gig memory setup. But these do have a ton of headroom. Like, you can go over 4400 megabits per second in terms of memory speed on these. So, yeah, like, but you need to know what you're doing, and you also need to be extremely patient, as your memory stress test time is going to be, like, literally twice as long as a 32 gig setup, or 4 times as long as a 16 gig setup. So, yeah. But in terms of performance, it doesn't get better with 2x32 kits, assuming that you're manually overclocking. Like, the stock performance, well, for Ryzen, the stock performance on these is going to be great. It's dual rank, it's 3600 CL16. Like, yeah. If it weren't for the price, these are honestly, well, as an XMP kit, like, these are a really, really great option. Even with the price, like, especially with considering the capacity, like, these are a really, really solid kit. But also, if you want to overclock, then these have a ton of headroom, an absolute ton. So these are great. And unlike their Micron Rev E counterparts, they're also much easier to stabilize, which is why I'm such a big fan of the Rev B memory chip. Because, yeah, this chip is awesome. This is, like, the greatest chip Micron has made so far. I just wish it wasn't so damn high capacity, because I really don't need 32 gigs of RAM. I really don't need 64 gigs of RAM in my system, so I don't need 32 gig DIMMs. But anyway, they also have a 3200 CL16 variant of the same thing. These are also going to be Micron Rev B. This is not much cheaper, and you do, like... I have two 3600 CL16 sets, and I have a 3200 CL16 set from Crucial of these sticks. And the 3200 CL16 sticks seem to be weaker on TRCD. So that might be a consistent, like, that might actually be a binning difference there, because obviously these are 3616. Like, these come with the exact same timings as the 3200 Cl16 kit does, right? These are, oh, it doesn't say here, but these are 16, 18, 18, the same as the 3600 kit. So the 3600s are better silicon quality than the 3200 Cl16s, and so if you're overclocking, especially considering the price the price difference is so small, I would lean towards the 3600 Cl16s. But if the price where you're buying them, there's a big price gap between them, the 3200, like if you can find the 3200 Cl16 for a much lower price, like they'll still do the same frequencies, they just won't do the same timings. You're just going to be stuck with looser timings. So not really a huge penalty in my opinion. For potentially, like, again, depends on what your pricing, like depends on what pricing you find them at, for potentially, you know, a significant reduction in cost. And now we get onto the Xmp kits for 2x32, and of course we've got 4000 Cl18 G skills, because if you're on an Intel system, well, you like with Intel systems, you just want as much memory speed as possible, unless you're on 11th gen, because 11th gen is dumb. But if you're on 10th gen, which is like a good CPU, yeah, 4000 Cl18 is a solid option for that. And G-Skill has two different variants. One of them is cheaper because one of them doesn't have RGB. And you'll probably notice that this stuff is like the same price as the like ridiculously massive overclocking headroom Crucial Ballistics kit. And yeah, it is. So like if you're willing to overclock your memory, which look, if you don't want to overclock 64 gigs of RAM, I can totally understand. It takes so long to stress test. Totally not worth it. Then yeah, like these sort of save you the trouble. Like, well, you still want to run a stress test on these when you enable the XMP, but unlike with manual overclocking, there's a very low probability that you're going to get a flood of errors when you try to do that, when you run your stress test. So, you know, that's kind of what you're paying for here. So anyway, yeah, so G-Skill's got this and this being much cheaper because of the lack of RGB, though I guess technically this also doesn't have RGB, so we should be comparing the non-RGB kits against each other. And then we have 3600 Cl18 2x32 kits, the Ryzen option, right? Because on Ryzen you want to hit your 1800 FCLK, well, this will do that. It'll do that for $330. And then we've also got this option from G-Skill, which also 3600 Cl18, and this will do it for $320. So basically the same price. Whichever one you find that's cheaper, that's the one to go for. And then we've got the, you know, sort of cheapest 2x32 setup you can go for, which is 3200 Cl16 for $290. Well, technically this is not the cheapest. Team Group also has a 3200 Cl22 bin, but that's only $10 cheaper, and going from Cl16 to Cl22 for $10 is not worth it. As far as I'm concerned, like just get the 3200 Cl16. You're buying 64 gigs of RAM. You're probably building a workstation. You know, like I don't think you're gonna like miss the $10 that much. Especially not on a kit that costs almost $300 anyway. So yeah. Anyway, that is the July 2021 memory shopping list. My personal favorites are, of course, things like the, well, I mean, the 4000, wait. We're going to have to pick through this. Kind of forgotten what everything, well, these are cool. Yeah, these are awesome. Of course they are. Though this is so, yeah, okay, so I like these, because these are so much cheaper for a very minor reduction there. So I really like those. I have, of course, like I have two sets of these. Of course I love these. So Patriots Viper Steels 4400. What else do we have? I really like the idea, like the 4000, like the 3600 CL14 G-Skill kit here. Like I really think this is sort of the 2x16 like high-end B-die kits. This I think is kind of the, like this will make your life easy. It'll make your life easy on 11th gen. It'll make your life easy on Ryzen. Whereas, yeah, admittedly, some of the other kits, you know, come with higher speeds out of the box, but this is still going to be top quality Samsung B-die. Like 3600, 14, 15, 15 is not exactly easy to do within like XMP specifications. Because there's a difference between what you can do with manual overclocking and what a manufacturer is willing to ship as an XMP profile. At least for most manufacturers there is. So, and G-Skill is certainly among them. So, yeah, so this I'm a big fan of this kit. I guess I should also include one. Well, no. This does save you quite a lot of money, right? Like that's a motherboard upgrade there. Like a pretty significantly better mother. You can get a significantly better motherboard for that price difference there, $70. In the 4x8 kits, I just don't like this section because like I'm an overclocker, right? So if I want 4x8, I'm just gonna buy two 2x8 kits, and when it doesn't work, that's my problem. That's not the manufacturer's problem, but I'll deal with it, right? Or at least I like to think that I'll deal with it. And then for the 32 gigs, I mean, I just love these crucial sticks. These things are incredible. It's a real shame that they're so big, or more like that. Like if they didn't take so long to stress test, these would be just amazing. And they're still amazing, but it's just like so annoying to try overclock these because of the stress testing times. So, yeah, that is it for the, July 2021 RAM shopping list. If you'd like to get the annotated version of the list, it's available on Patreon to patrons. And so there's a link to the Patreon down in the description if you'd like to support me through that. There's also the HOC Teespring store, which unfortunately does not give you access to the list. So, yeah, I'm not sure how to... I should figure something out to make the list accessible as standalone. I mean, I could make it... That would be weird, though. Yeah, no, like, Patreon, if you want the annotated list, I'm not gonna... Like, I could technically put it on Teespring, but it's just, like, that's weird. What else is there? Right, yeah, so Patreon, Teespring, links in the description if you'd like to, help, support the running of this channel. And, yeah, that's it for the video. Thank you for watching, and goodbye.